In a sun-dappled hollow at the base of a wise old oak, lived two creatures named Puku and Puki. They were small, fuzzy, and utterly content. Their world was perfect. A plump berry bush grew right beside their cozy burrow, providing endless, delicious meals. The sun warmed their backs as they lounged, and the gentle breeze carried sweet scents. Puku, ever the relaxed one, would often say, "Why venture further when paradise is right here?" Puki, a little more observant, would sometimes twitch an ear, a faint unease stirring within. But Puku's contentment was infectious. For seasons, their life was a dreamy cycle of eating, napping, and basking. They never had to search, never had to strive. They took their overflowing berry bush completely for granted, as if it were an unshakable law of nature. But life, as it often does, had a lesson brewing. One crisp autumn morning, Puki noticed something. The berries, usually plump and abundant, were smaller, fewer. She nudged Puku, who was still half asleep. "Puku, look, the bush." Puku blinked. "Oh, perhaps it's just the season changing. They'll be back." "Puki, they always are." He went back to dozing, trusting in the familiar. Days turned into weeks. The berries became scarce. Soon, Puku and Puki found themselves rationing, feeling the unfamiliar pangs of hunger. Their cozy burrow suddenly felt less like a haven and more like a trap. The once perfect world had shrunk, and the comfort they cherished was dissolving. "We have to do something," Puki finally declared, her voice trembling slightly with fear and determination. "We have to leave the hollow. We have to find new food." Puku's tiny heart pounded. The world beyond their hollow was a vast, unknown, and terrifying place. They had only ever seen it from the safety of their sun-dappled spot. What if there were dangers? What if they got lost? What if there was nothing out there? But what if we can't?" Puku whispered, the fear of failure almost as strong as the hunger. Puki, though just as scared, found a flicker of resolve. "What if we can? What if there's something better?" Quote, with heavy hearts and even heavier paws, they ventured out. The tall grass was a dense jungle. Each rustle of leaves was a potential monster. Every shadow seemed to hold a lurking threat. Puku wanted to turn back 100 times, to retreat to the familiar emptiness of their hollow. But Puki, remembering the gnawing emptiness in their bellies, kept urging them forward, one hesitant step after another. They were tired, scared, and hungry. They bickered, they doubted, they clung to each other for reassurance. This was nothing like their easy life. This was hard. This was real. After what felt like an eternity, as the sun began to deep below the horizon, Puki caught a scent on the wind, a sweet, unfamiliar aroma. "Puku, do you smell that?" Quote, they followed the scent, pushing through one last thorny thicket. And there, beyond a rise they had never dared to crest, lay a sight that made their weary hearts pound with a new kind of joy. A sprawling patch of wild, sweet clover, glistening with dew, and just beyond it, another berry bush, even larger and more vibrant than their old one, laden with berries the color of rubies. They feasted until their bellies were full, a kind of satisfied exhaustion they had never known before. The food tasted sweeter, not just because they were hungry, but because they had worked for it, risked for it, discovered it. They made their way back to their hollow under the moonlight, bodies aching but spirits soaring. The old oak, their home, looked different now. It was still a sanctuary, but it no longer felt like their only world. From that day on, Puku and Puki were changed. They continued to enjoy their hollow, but they never again took their resources for granted. They regularly ventured out, exploring new paths, discovering new food sources, and mapping out the world around them. They learned which roots were edible, which berries were sweet, and which nooks offered shelter. They became stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Puku, the once complacent one, often found himself leading the expeditions, his fear replaced by an eager curiosity. "You know, Puki," he'd say, gazing at the vast expanse beyond their familiar oak, "it's amazing what you find when you stop being afraid to look." Puki would nod, a gentle smile on her face. "Life, it turns out," she'd reply, "isn't just about what you have, but about what you're willing to go out and discover." The lesson life taught Puku and Puki, and us. Don't take comfort for granted. What seems permanent can change. Relying solely on one source or one comfort zone can leave you vulnerable. Embrace the unknown. Stepping out of your comfort zone is terrifying, But it's where true growth and discovery happen. The greatest rewards often lie just beyond your greatest fears. Asterisk resilience and adaptation. Asterisk when faced with scarcity or change. The ability to adapt and persevere is key to survival and flourishing. Asterisk the value of effort. Asterisk what you work for often tastes sweeter. The journey, with all its struggles, can be as rewarding as the destination. Asterisk growth through challenge. Asterisk it's through difficult experiences that we discover our inner strength, our capacity for courage, and the vastness of our own potential.